I'm here with Lila Rose from Live Action, and you've put out some videos over the last year or so that have really sort of shaken things up. And I would say you've probably caused Planned Parenthood's knees to shake a little bit. Why don't you tell the folks about that?
Sure. Well, we've been doing a series of video releases in the last 4 months as part of Live Action's Mona Lisa project, which is basically a young team of college students and other volunteers going undercover in the abortion industry nationwide last summer and throughout this year releasing the footage of that undercover investigation. We've released footage now from 5 different clinics in 2 different states, 2 clinics in Indiana, 3 clinics in the state of Arizona alone. And all these clinics and all this footage made into live action film videos showed Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, covering up the sexual abuse of very young girls, 13 years old, 15-year-olds, having being in situations of abuse with much older men, 27-year-olds, 27-year-old, 31-year-old men. And Planned Parenthood again and again telling these little girls to get secret abortions, turning them away without getting them any help, without informing police or parents as state law requires them, instead sending these young girls back into the arms of sexual abusers.
Well, that's really significant because if they don't report these, uh, you know, child molestation cases, aren't they violating the state laws?
That's right. Planned Parenthood, again and again, as shown through the live action film videos, and you can see these at liveaction.org, and through past statistical studies that have been done by Mark Black Dynamics in 2002, and by the recent court cases that we've seen that have come out where young girls grow up, they later on sue Planned Parenthood because when they were little and they went into these clinics, they were given secret abortions and sent back to sexual abusers. And so we're seeing this again and again. The pattern is widespread, the pattern is growing, and yet today, Planned Parenthood has never been convicted of a crime. Instead, again and again, attorney generals, district attorneys do not take this evidence seriously, do not follow through, and are not fully investigating these illicit practices at Planned Parenthood, doing their job so that they can bring the proper the proper regulations back into enforcement so that these young girls will be protected.
Wouldn't you think that if there were cases where there were girls that seemed to be underage going into these locations and someone reported it, shouldn't the officers take that seriously and perhaps follow up on that? I mean, we've got people out in front of these abortion mills and we see these young girls going in there and often we know that they're underage. Why isn't there a process like that to protect these girls?
Well, there is a process, Peter, and that process is the laws in these different states. But as you just stated, the problem is the process isn't being followed. And whether that's clinicians at Planned Parenthood who are not doing their jobs, who are more interested in getting these abortions done on these little girls than in reporting the sexual abuse, or if it's negligent cops or whatever it may be, at the end of the day, we have this whole construct built up around abortion providers where they're above the law. They don't need to protect these young girls just like the law says. They don't need to follow regulations and state statutes. They can do whatever they want. And we are saying that is not how it needs to be and that's not how it should be. They should be held accountable just like any other health institution, just like teachers, just like anyone else who is entrusted in any way with the care of a young girl. And they need to be looking out for her best interest, following state statutes and reporting that sexual abuse.
Well, it seems to me there's a double standard. I mean, you go into a store and they have all kinds of health regulations, whether it's a restaurant or even a clothing store. There are an incredible number of regulations, and if any of those are violated, the facility is shut down while it's being taken care of. Why does it seem like there's this double standard where there's no oversight with abortion clinics?
Well, definitely, I would say that abortion providers and the whole abortion issue is so heavily politicized to the degree that it has so many political allies and people that should instead be looking at the facts, not engaging in ideological battles, but instead looking at the facts of the case and saying, okay, they're covering up sexual abuse, this needs to be criminally penalized. They're covering up sexual abuse, maybe we need to revoke someone's license, or maybe we need to fully investigate this to ensure that in the future they'll no longer be covering up sexual abuse. I mean, common sense responses to such a cover up are now being totally manipulated because of these ideological political ideas that seem to be gripping a lot of the authorities, the state authorities, and some where we've done some of these investigations. And I'll give an example. In the state of Arizona, where we found three clinics, one after another, covering up sexual abuse, and you can see these in our videos at liveaction.org. The Attorney General of the state, the man in charge who should be looking into this, Terry Goddard, on the first day when we released our first video in Tucson, Arizona, Terry Goddard was the keynote speaker at a Planned Parenthood sponsored event. Now, we have sent Terry Goddard and his office the full footage of our investigation so that he can do his own, but are we expecting him to follow through? We certainly are. Will he? That's the question.
That's just crazy. And I think that when these kinds of situations come about, and one of the ones that I saw was where there was in Arizona that 15, the girl was, she said she was 15 years old and that her boyfriend was 27. And the one thing they kept saying over and over again is, this is all confidential. That doesn't seem right.
Exactly. I mean, you're giving a sound clip from just one of those clinics. And I went in there with the investigative partner, my friend Jackie Stoller, posing 15-year-old girls. We posed a 13, 14-year-old girl. And we are reporting that their boyfriend's 27 or he's 31. I mean, outrageous age differences, totally illegal. And Planned Parenthood, instead of immediately calling police like they're supposed to, so that these girls who are being manipulated, who don't know what's good for them, who are going into these clinics looking for help really, but scared, and instead they're being told that, we'll get you a secret abortion, no one needs to know. Planned Parenthood is getting away with that. And we don't know how many young girls are actually going in every day, and we don't know how many times it's actually happening. We can just look to these investigative videos, look to studies that have been done, and look to the cases of the brave girls who have actually spoken out about these past abuse situations. But at the end of the day, again, we don't know, and we need to know. And the only way we're going to know is if state authorities like Terry Goddard, the Attorney General of Arizona, does his job and subpoenas the proper statistical documents or whatever it may be from Planned Parenthood, does a thorough investigation. We can all know how many reports have not been made that should have been made, and how we will prevent this ever from happening again in the future.
I agree. And I think what should happen as well is that they should have some sort of um, procedure whereby they document the age of the women who are going in so that things can be followed up on. I think that it would hold them accountable and they wouldn't be able to hide in the dark, which they're doing. What else? What can people do? How can people get involved? How can they find out more about what you're doing and support the efforts?
Please get involved with this. You can go to our website, liveaction.org-action, liveaction.org/action, and there's a listing of all the state authorities that are involved that can be contacted, that can be petitioned to actually follow through and do investigations. But more also, just as important, we want people to pass our videos on, because we make these videos and we go through the effort of the research, the investigation, the video editing, the whole production and pre-production process, so that we can share this inside scoop with the public. And the more Americans that see this, the more people that will be outraged by it. So we ask the video and pass them on to friends, family, your community, and get them viewed, because that was really the catalyst for a lot of people to care about this. And then just page, pass it on, and also use new media, write for blogs, send editorials in or letters to the editor in the papers, ask local news to cover this. This is an issue we should all be concerned about, because we all need to hold Planned Parenthood, the nation's largest abortion provider, to hold them accountable for all of their illicit activity.
Well, you do an amazing job, and thank you for being there on the front lines. And we always encourage everybody, get out to the front lines, see where things are happening, get out to the abortion mills, represent the unborn. They only have us, and if we don't do anything, as I say, united we stand, divided they die. And I really appreciate these efforts, like what you're doing there, and I pray that other people hear this and are encouraged maybe to get involved and that they communicate with you. Thank you for being with us, Lila. Appreciate all that you do.
Thank you, Peter, and we appreciate you. God bless you.
God bless.